If you're just joining us, if you could put a comment in the comments section, just so we know that you guys are out there and we can hear you. Appreciate it. What's up, KE? What's up, Brett? What's up, Andy? Welcome. Andy says he's got his PB&J ready to go. I love it. All the protein. That's what they eat in the ref room. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Ref Room. It's Wednesday. We do this every week live. Joining me, my co-host, Brad Baumrock. What's going on, Brad?
Not much. How are you? Just enjoyed a little drive out of my local residency. So I'd like to point out this is a water park bracelet before anybody asks. Nothing else.
Not in the hospital. There you go. Awesome. And we are joined today by our very special guest, Jameson Gronert. Jameson, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. Thanks so much for having me on.
And so for those of you that don't know Jameson, I'm sure most of you do, but Jameson has been teaching us all as referees power skating for many years through IHOA. He does a great job. He's a fitness buff. I'm going to call it politely what it is. because he's the guy drinking all the powdered energy drinks in the room before we go out there and making sure everything is measured out correctly. But we've got him today. He's also an AHL linesman. For those of you that watch the Wolves game, yes, he's out there. He does a great job. So we're going to cover a lot of stuff today. There's a bunch of things going on. I mean, hockey, we still don't know when it's going to return officially. We've had a lot of things going on in terms of crazy week. I mean, we had announcers from TV. Milbury gets suspended. I don't know if he's suspended indefinitely or just a period of time for making what most of us probably make as a comment in one of the locker rooms. So that was kind of interesting. And then we got the baseball announcer that was with the Cubs. He had a live mic on and got caught, and he's probably done. His career is probably over as a result of that. So we had that. We've got the NFL. We had, 77 false positive tests this week. We want to return to hockey. I think the Bears had 9 of those false tests or false positives. Makes you wonder. I mean, they've probably got the best company in the country taking care of them, and I'm sure now they're probably having to double check every test every day. So apparently they send these tests out to, I think it's New Jersey. They go out every day, and to get that kind of a false positive back, and then those players had to sit for 24 hours, even if they weren't positive because they came up as a false positive, they still had to sit for 24 hours. But if somebody as big as the NFL with all their money can't get the testing right, it's going to be tough for the rest of us getting back to hockey. Today they came out. Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed, as the articles I read, there's quite a few out there and a lot of data to read. It looks like the NFL already has a double testing policy. That's how they caught these false negatives. They caught them on the second testing, I guess, later that day. Okay. So I don't know what the exact protocol is. I wish they'd give out a little more information. Like, the NHL has been very open with how they're doing their testing. And if you look, it seems to be working up in the NHL. Or, the MLB is struggling, and now we have false positives in the NFL. And I just want to see that we have a good test and the players can compete and not have to sit out for 24 hours. But precautionary, I guess. Yeah, might as well have them sit out for the day.
Well, the good news, it's preseason. Obviously, they haven't started playing. If you had to sit your players on game day for 24 hours, I think that would be a totally different ball game. So fortunately, them just getting a day off or whatever the case may be and having probably to go back and retest again or something, it's not as bad as if it was game day. But the NHL has done a great job. The bubble that they've set up has just been amazing. I mean, there's no issues going on there. I think the building looks great. We got hockey. We got a couple games a day. We couldn't be happier. I mean, there's some good series going on. Vegas still looks great, even though they lost last night. Talk that Crawford now, his contract is over. What are you guys thinking? Is he going to be able to stay in Chicago, or are we going to finally be getting a new tender?
I think it's going to depend on who else is going to be available this year. I can't say that I've looked, but I don't know what other. Blackhawks need a top goalie. They need a top 10 in the league, probably even top 5 goalie in the league. And I don't know that any of them are going to be available.
Do they have the salary cap to pull that off?
I don't know.
How much is Crawford making? Anybody know what Crawford makes?
I think he's making around 6.
Okay.
But there's been a lot of talk of, unloading Seabrook. And if Seabrook ends up going away, that's another $6+ million in cap space you could free up too. So it depends on what the priorities for the club are this year. And if one of the things I read the other day is that Crawford's willing to take a hometown discount. And so, if he stays for $2 million, is a goalie like Crawford worth that money to the club?
At $2 million, I'd say he probably is. I mean, you're probably going to get a half a season out of him if he stays pretty healthy. And when he's playing, he's solid. Is he the top goaltender in the NHL? No, but is he definitely a top 10? I'd say he probably is when he's healthy. We just got to keep him in for more than half a season. That's really what it comes down to. How old is he? Anybody know how old is he?
He's about me and Jameson's age. I think he's 34, 35.
Okay, you guys are that young. What am I doing in this game?
Jameson's younger, so.
What am I doing?
No, I'm older than you are, Brad.
Oh, never mind. I feel better now in this room.
Wait, did I just say that? Crap.
Hey, Jameson, just out of curiosity, does the AHL have a age cap on how old you can be and work the league?
Not formally, not as far as I know. I know guys like Pete Sitchie and Al Stensland worked well into their 40s, if not, they may even have been 50.
Yeah.
You bet that. I mean, the game was a little bit different as they were coming in, and certainly being tenured refs with the quality of guys that those guys are, they got to stay as long as they were able to do the job. So they did it for a long time.
Oh, that's awesome.
They did it well.
So, as long as we're on the subject, we're talking about the NHL. You're an AHL linesman. What are you hearing from the AHL? Are you guys going to training camp? Are you guys getting ready? When are you going to start your season? What's some of the protocols that you've heard about at this point from the league?
Unfortunately, it's been extremely quiet. There's not been a whole lot of news. There's not been a whole lot of movement on how the American League is going to move forward. They changed their tentative season start date, I believe, to December 4th. And so they'll be doing the training camps and everything they can leading up to that. But I believe a whole bunch of the other training camps that they were planning on doing have just been flat out canceled. They're going to use the staff that they have along with anybody they can grab, to replace the people who have been let go in the last year or so. And we'll see what kind of a season we have. It's going to be really interesting to see. A lot of these clubs are operating on a break-even budget or even less, and the only reason they're able to do that is because of the fans they draw in. So if fans aren't able to come in, they don't have TV deals where they can sell advertisements. So how are some of these clubs that aren't in mainstream markets gonna survive, a season with no fans?
It's definitely going to be a challenge. I mean, when do you think they would normally report to training camp? About 60 days out from the start of the season, so it might be a little bit early. But guys like to stay in shape, and they like to skate. I mean, even we have Hawk players and other players that are in Chicago during the summer, and they have a league here for them at one of the downtown facilities. And these guys show up at rat hockey sessions, and they're out there just trying to get some exercise and playing. The rinks are open right now, of course, but, you can't have anything competitive, even though I'm hearing some different things at different places, but supposedly you can't have anything competitive. I don't think these guys just want to skate edge work for 2 hours a day, and, I mean, they might. That's how they got so good, but the reality of it is, they want to, have game situation with puck and stick and, be able to work on move the puck around and avoiding some people and passing and shooting, and just like the rest of us. So you think these guys are going to be able to practice the way they're used to at this point?
I think probably they will.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Brad, didn't mean to.
Go ahead.
I know that professional sports are exempt from Pritzker's orders, so these guys are being paid to play. Practicing is part of their contract, so yes, they'll be allowed to practice. As far as things like summer leagues go, I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
I was going to say, I've heard rumors that some of the men's leagues are going to pay their men's league players $1 a game and call them professional athletes so that they can play and be exempt from Pritzker's rules. So, people are always going to try to find a way to push the envelope and find a way around what.
I like that.
What's going, but we'll see. We'll see who does what here.
I get a men's league contract. I love it.
It's a resume builder right there.
Man, professional men's league player. Aren't they already professional men's league players?
Going back to what you said, Scott, a lot of the players, when you practice and do edge work, no offense, you can only do so much of that before your competitive side of your brain starts to go, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
So I think the professional players especially, and even amateur players, being competitive with each other makes them better as they go along, because if you practice with the same guys week after week after week, that same stick handle move is not going to work on those guys. Yeah. So you got to think of something else. It causes creativity. So I think the players like that aspect of getting out there and rat hockey and stuff like that, even though it's not the most competitive for them, but they do know that they can go out there, have a good time, and the players like it, and, they get on the ice and get a feel with the puck. I think that's the biggest thing missing. You practice, you get a feel for it, but it's not the same.
Yeah, I mean, guys don't want to skate Minnesota miles all day long out there for sure. They definitely need some different blocking dummies to go around. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so, all we can do is hope that we're going to get some news. I think Did we see I saw an email today. I'm not sure if it came from USA Hockey or from AHI, whatever. There was an email that went out, just talking about like what's going on, but it's really not giving you like, is there an end in sight? When do we start back? So nobody really has any kind of a number, an anticipated start date here. I think for me, that's one of the most frustrating things. I mean, if you told me, okay, you're going back October 15th, I'd be like, okay, cool. We at least know we're going to go back at some point. Right now, we don't even know when we're going to go back or if we're going to go back. And we all thought the season would start. We just didn't think maybe we'd finish the season after the flu season kicks in, that would be the problem. And now it looks like we're not even going to be starting here. So it's definitely going to be interesting. I don't know, all you guys that are out there, if you want to put some comments in here, we'll take some questions. A couple things. We do this every week. Please subscribe to the channel. We're on YouTube. That's where we would appreciate you clicking the subscribe button and the notification button. We've also added Twitch this week, so you can now watch us on Twitch, which is also a great service. It's twitch.tv/refroom. And, if you want to subscribe over there, that'd be great. But we'd really appreciate the subscription on the YouTube channel. And I know a lot of you guys are watching on Facebook. Also, if you guys want to comment, I believe if you're on Facebook, there may be a link above that says you have to click in order to be able to comment and show up on here. I'm looking at Mr. Wilkins right now and K.E. Reeves, and their pictures don't show up. So if you click that button above, it should give you like an authorization so we can actually see you, just like we can see Andy and Brett. So thank you guys for that. And, we want to move into like staying in shape as a referee and as an official or even as a player. I know we've got players and coaches that watch this show. And, Jameson, your expertise has been skating just like Brad. And, I'd love for you to take us through some ideas, ways to stay in shape during the lockout for the most part. And, being able to be ready to go when the day comes back that we can get on the ice.
Well, there's been a lot of stuff that I've been trying to do at home because that's really been the only consistent option you have. Certainly, there's plenty of things you can do to just keep your endurance and energy levels up, bike riding, rollerblading, things like that. But overall, in the long run, that's not going to get you where you want to be for a season, especially if you're trying to improve and get better. So for a long time now, I've been doing a lot of home workouts, and I tried a whole bunch of different stuff over the years. I'm a huge fan of the Beachbody programs. I did P90X and P90X2 and the Insanity workouts and the Asylum workouts, and there's just so much variety that you can do there. You mix and match and change them out. You put yourself on just the different customized programs they have out there. It's amazing how good a shape you can get into when you're working in just a 10 square foot area in your office or in your living room or your basement or whatever you have available to you.
I'd like to point out, Jameson, real quick though, the P90X and Beachbody workouts, they're great workouts. We have the P90X. I should probably utilize it a little bit more. But I work in a medical office, and, the guys in their late 30s, early 40s that still think that they're gung-ho, if you go out and do P90X hardcore, you're going to walk into our office in a lot of pain. So be careful, tread lightly, know your own levels. Sorry to interrupt on that, Jameson. But
no, you're right. You definitely got to know your own limits with a lot of these things. One of the reasons I do love certainly the Insanity or the Asylum workouts, well, certainly the Insanity workouts, you're not using any weights. Everything you're doing is interval training. It's push-ups, it's sit-ups, it's pull-ups, it's lots of jumping, it's lateral agility and mobility, ladder drills, things like that. And so you really can get ready for the season in a lot of really good ways, just using a ladder, a jump rope, and some consistent interval training. I've been a huge fan of those things for a long time, especially in the summers.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to get into doing that PX or whatever you call it. I just think it's a little too intense for me at this point. For you young guys, it works. I will tell you that. I know some guys that do it, and it looks like it definitely gets the job done for you. Brian says hello. Hello, Brian. What's happening? Say hello to a couple of people that are joining us. We got Brett, Andy, Ben Starks here. So thanks, guys. Thanks for checking us out. If you have some questions you want to send to Jameson or Brad, please feel free to post them in the comments. If you could do me a favor, you'd put a Q in front of your question. That would certainly help. And, we're going to continue here on the subject of staying in shape and working out. And, both of you guys have been so active and give back to our referee community in teaching skating. And I know that when I came as a player, I was a really choppy player. I mean, even Sassolino pulled me aside one day. And, he was like, well, you need to smooth it out a little bit, because you just don't know. I mean, we skate totally different. And that's something I wanted to talk about today with both of you guys, because you do need to learn how to skate like a referee and look like a referee. And I know that, Jameson, one of the things that you did for the ADP program, you did it the year before I got there, and you didn't do it the year that I was there. But I always ask you about this. He does this thing on posture, where he breaks down your posture on a video. And I know it's very time-consuming, but I know I would love to have that done at some point. I've asked you probably for 3 or 4 years now about getting that done. But you want to talk about that and how to learn to skate like a referee and look like a referee. So much of what we do is perception, and so looking the part, being dressed appropriately, looking like a referee, and then of course skating like a referee. These are all so important. So if you guys could cover some of that today, I'd really like to talk about that.
Well, it's a good segue into what we're doing here, because you were just mentioning it. The posture is the foundation of everything you do. It starts, stops, turns, transitions, crossovers, your lateral agility. Everything you do begins with your posture. And one of the things we need to do as referees is conserve our energy while we're out there, because we don't get to take shifts like players do. We're not on the ice for 30 seconds and then go get to take a break. We're up and down the ice every second of the game. It's one of the things I love about being the referee. It's plenty of ice time. But the posture is the foundation of any efficient skater. The better your posture is, the more power you're going to generate in every aspect of your stride. The push through your recovery is going to be better. Certainly your turns and transitions are going to be more efficient, because the lower you are to the ice, the better balance you have. If you think about, a semi-truck making a turn versus a Corvette making a tight turn, which one's going to do it better? It's not the engine they have in there. It's the distance off the ground that, makes the Corvette have the ability to make those tight turns. And that all begins with the posture. The knees bent forward, pushed over your toes, your butt up and behind you, your hips are out of the way of your legs so that they can move as they need to. And then your shoulders in line with your knees for pretty much everything you do, or even further forward, depending on what you're doing. That posture is what I've been drilling into people for 12, 13 years of teaching power skating now. It's always the first lesson I teach whenever I work with a new student, is getting that posture to the point where anytime they reset, anytime they start a drill, that's what they begin with. They focus on that posture. Yeah.
Hey, Jameson, how important is it, because you're talking about posture, how important is it to officiating that your head stays at a level area as you skate up and down the ice throughout the game?
Oh, I don't know how people with an undisciplined upper body can referee a hockey game, because your field of vision is just all over the place. Think about, carrying a camera, carry your phone and try to keep something on video as you're running. If that camera is all over the place, how good of a picture are you going to get? So disciplining your upper body, that's really the next big piece after the posture. Disciplining your body so that you can skate, so that you can do turns, transitions, starts, and stops without changing the level of your head vertically or shaking your head side to side. That's a huge part of it too. And the frustrating part is, I was talking with some of my students about this a couple of weeks ago, teaching upper body discipline is a very difficult thing to do for referees. It's a very difficult thing to do, because our arms are so free we don't have to worry about a puck. We don't have to worry about protecting anything. We don't have a stick to guide us around in what we're doing. But as referees, our arms can do whatever they want. So teaching an upper body discipline when you don't have the framework of gloves and a stick is a very challenging thing to do.
Well, I'll tell you,
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, they taught us that especially for the level 4 test. If you guys are going to take the level 4 test, and you're doing all those turns, and a lot of them are done with your arm up in the air and with a delayed call, keeping that head at a steady location and your eyes sort of focused towards the center. You can't be trying to concentrate on everything else. You still have to watch play. So something else I wanted to ask you about, and that's edge work. so important as a referee. And I think a lot of people take that for granted. We see a lot of guys that are players that come in and, they start to, become referees. But being able to get out of the way, the edge work in the corners and things of that nature, do you want to talk about that and some of the drills that are really great for improving your edge work?
Edge work is one of the most fun things to teach because there's so many different ways that you can do it. You watch the guys in the NHL, the NHL referees, they are so good in the corners. They can spin and twist and transition and turn and pivot, with 5 guys who are bigger than them by 5 inches and 50 pounds, moving faster than they are, and they can still do such an amazing job staying out of the way. That all comes from just anticipation and edge control, their ability to make those twists and turns and to identify the safe escape areas. They're so good at it. What I've done for a long time as far as teaching edge control is to isolate the different edges. You got your inside edge and your outside edge. And there's so many different disciplines you can teach to try to do that. We talked a little earlier about being an efficient skater. So if your edge control is to the point that you can do a tight turn and only have to do 1 crossover, that's going to be far more efficient than a wider turn where you have to take maybe 3 or 4 crossovers to finally finish your rotation. If you can discipline your edges to the point where you can make a full 180-degree turn using only 1 crossover to push you out of it, that's going to be far more efficient that way. And so what I teach in a lot of my clinics is a lot of just inside edge only, outside edge only, or working on just one leg only, sometimes going up and down the ice on only one leg and then transitioning and coming back. And a lot of those drills, they're the most fun because they're technically complex. And for some of the drills that I've gotten from the NHL skating coaches, like even the NHL guys are struggling with some of those drills. And so it's cool to see just some of the world's best skaters come up with a drill that even they are challenged by.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I was in Fifth Third, I think it was last year. And, Kevin Delaney is the skating coach for the Blackhawks. And he was out there basically with 3 or 4 of the coaches working with one of the players. And he was out there by himself. And you could, as referees, we are able to sit and evaluate players skating, and we were watching, and it's like, wow, this guy is really good with the puck on his stick, but when he doesn't have the puck on his stick and they're trying to get him to make these turns, like in one direction, I could see why he's out there getting a private lesson. And this is a guy that can fly, a really good player. But, just like all of us, I mean, we're all going to have a weakness. Maybe your weakness is going clockwise. Maybe your weakness is going counterclockwise, that you can feel a difference out there. And, getting into these sessions with these guys, they will help you. They really make some significant improvement. And I know I actually, I took a couple of, I don't want to call them lessons, but Delaney has these drop-ins. He had them at Heartland for a long time. You pay $20, you show up in your player gear, and, he just does drills for you. But there was one day out there where he had us only doing edge work, and I have not done edge work in years. This is before I was a referee. I felt like I could not skate. I honestly felt like it was my first day on the ice when he did this. And after doing this for 1 or 2 sessions, that really helped me with my skating, and it certainly helped me when I was actually into the refereeing side of things because so much of our skating is edge work. Now, we got a couple questions here, so let me just, I'm going to do this. I'm going to switch it out and bring some of these comments in. So the first one, and let me see if I can adjust this a little bit for you guys. Can you? No, that's not doing it.
On the 5.
All right.
Well, Scott's figuring that out.
Jameson, what's your educational background in, it disappeared. Physiology and physical education on the science of skating and endurance during a time when many of us cannot be on the ice. What off-ice educational resources do you recommend to improve our knowledge and ability on the ice when it comes to power skating I can't finish reading this here, it's a long one, off-ice workouts? So, Jameson, you got an answer for any of that stuff?
The first question is easy to answer enough. My degree is in small business management, so it had nothing to do with the science and physiology of skating. Everything I have learned has come from my experience teaching and working with some of the best power skating coaches in the country. I have 4 more clinics to teach tonight for him, but I've been working with Robbie Glantz for 12 years. And Robbie Glantz is a former skating coach for the LA Kings, and he does a whole bunch of stuff on the NHL Network. And working with him for the last 12 summers or so has been an incredible opportunity, an incredible a well of information that I can use. And the other thing too is this is one of the things that I'm just a nerd about. I love talking about skating. I love researching skating. I love looking at it. And my favorite drill in the All-Star Skills competition is always fastest skater. And so it's just amazing to see the proficiency and the power that those guys have to get around the rink as quickly as they do. And so that's really where the other part of this is it's one of my hobbies. And so I've learned the different parts of skating just by researching it online, by following different power skating instructors and working with them over the last 10, 15 years. I wish I had the time and the opportunity to kind of go through it by the book and actually get a formal physiology degree. It's just, you can only do so much with your life, and I got other stuff going on. So going back to school just really isn't on the table for it right now. But if I could, that would be what I do. It would be to go into the physical science and find out, what actually makes, from the physics side of things, what makes a really good skater. Second part of it is kind of what we were talking about earlier. The best ways to stay in shape and work on it is do everything you do. I guess one of the best pieces of information is do everything you could do in a hockey posture. So even if you're just doing like a standard dumbbell curl sitting at home, don't sit down on a bench and just do it. Get into your hockey posture and do it from there. Okay. And everything you do, if you can build your legs to the point where you can remain in your posture for an entire game. I think of having to do an hour and a half long wall sit.
Wow.
I can't do that. I don't know anybody who can sit there and do an hour and a half wall sit. But if you make that kind of the goal, the expectation, what you want, building up your legs as much as possible at every opportunity is gonna serve you well. I do, like I said earlier, I do a lot of agility drills. I do a lot of ladder drills. It's up and downs, quick feet, it's side to side, twisting and turning, all those things. And again, while you're doing those drills, if you're following a video or just making up your own, make sure you're doing those while you're in that hockey posture. Get as low as you can. It's going to build up your hamstrings so much more. It's going to build up your quads, and it's just going to be a huge benefit. There's a lot of like squats and lunges are also a hockey player's best friend. I mean, we talked about wall sits already. I would say that's the best thing you can do. But squats and lunges, you can do a crossover squat where you push the leg behind and you push up on one leg, or standard squats where you get as low as you can. Pistol squats, you go on one leg and you stand all the way back up as best you can while keeping your balance. And I think that's another aspect of fitness that we don't really get from just traditional weight training. It's great to be able to squat 400 pounds, but at the same time, if you don't have the balance out there when you need to use that energy, what is that going to serve you? So I like doing a lot of single leg squats instead, because pushing up on the one leg is really going to give you the balance you need on the ice.
Hey, James, since you're bringing up balance, traditional hockey, when we skate, does a great workout for your legs and your calves and all that stuff that you said. But how important is our core for our balance as we move forward? And we really don't get that workout, on the ice. What could we be doing off the ice in order to get that going? Just traditional sit-ups, or what do you think?
I'm not a fan of regular sit-ups. I'll be honest. I'm just not a fan. They get too boring, too tedious. And overall, at the end of the day, a standard sit-up is really only working one group of your core muscles. It's only really working part of it. And so what I like doing with core is doing what I can to mix the upper and the lower body together. We talked about the posture being the foundation of skating, and then we talked about keeping your upper body disciplined, and that being kind of the next piece of being an efficient skater. Your core is what ties your upper and lower body together. And so if you've got a weak core, you're skating in a way that your core isn't engaged, it's going to be a lot more difficult to sync up your upper and your lower body. So anything you can do that will match those two while working together. Core holds do a good job, but I like being a little more dynamic than that. You said how I don't like sit-ups. What I'll do is kind of a modified sit-up where I'll, instead of pushing my legs under the couch or something like that, I'll actually crisscross my legs, lay back. I'll do a standard sit-up, but then I'll put one hand up and reach up and then pull it all the way across the body too. so that my right elbow touches my left knee. And so not only am I just engaging the lower part of the core doing a standard sit-up, now I'm engaging the obliques and the whole right side of my core as I twist through it to the other side. And so finding ways to make any core exercise more dynamic where you're engaging the upper and the lower body is going to serve you really, really well.
So we have a question from Matt. He's asking, Jameson, when did you learn how to skate? Youngster or... I don't know if he's referring to learning how to skate as much like, did you start skating? But I think he's referring probably to like, when did you learn all this technical skating? Is this something that you learned as a player growing up, or is this something that you really studied as you become a referee?
I would say it's something I studied and have developed a passion for as I became a referee. I've always liked skating. Hockey is the only sport I've ever played. It's really the only sport I ever wanted to play. And I know there's a lot of people who can probably say the same thing, but it's something that makes our sport unique. Baseball players, they want to try wrestling, they want to try basketball. They're multi-sport athletes. And I know that's what the colleges want. So you encourage kids to do the same. I didn't want to do any other sports. I just wasn't interested. So for me, I could skate all day and not get sick and tired of it. It's part of the reasons why I referee so many games, because I love skating. As far as when I learned, I'm still learning. I'm still a student of the posture and the technique, and I'm always following all these other power skating coaches to try and learn what they're teaching out there. I've got some pretty cool connections that I've developed over the years from all over the country. Some of the guys are personal skating coaches in the summers for guys like Connor McDavid. Just some of the top athletes in the game. And so finding out what it is they're doing, the way that they keep their workouts new and dynamic and interesting it's been a real passion of mine, specifically for the last decade. But I learned to skate shortly after I turned 3 years old, at least from what my parents told me. And I've never wanted to get off the ice. To this day, I've never wanted to get off the ice. I love it so much. So
for those of you that are just joining us, welcome to the Ref Room. I'm Scott Smokin' Sills, along with my co-host Brad Baumrock. Our special guest today is Jameson Gronert. First of all, Brad is coming to us from a secret location. That's why he looks like he's in the witness protection program today, if you're watching.
It's not.
He doesn't even have the hat on backwards or the glasses on today, and he looks like he's in the witness protection program anyway. So
it's a working progress, Scott. It's
right.
A working progress over here.
Yeah, actually, he's up in. Can I say? Is it okay to disclose your location? I don't want people to come after you with guns drawn or anything. But Brad's up in Wisconsin.
No, after last week's convention that was in Milwaukee, we're good.
Yeah.
So
there's no more travel ban. You can go to Wisconsin. Yep. See, it's okay because they had the convention up there.
Yeah.
As long as you're not up there in Kenosha, stay out of Kenosha right now. Okay. All right.
So they lifted the bans on a lot of that. So if you've been keeping up with it, international travel, the CDC now says, you're good to go. Chicago might be a little more strict. You're talking about a big population, though.
Yeah.
And there's some other things going on. And then, unfortunately, the Kenosha thing that's going on right now, we're a good half hour away from there. I don't think anybody's going to march that far. And I'm talking by car.
I hope not.
So, we'll be careful. And, if anything goes crazy, we'll get out of here. But I wasn't going to miss it, even though I'm in a hotel. But their internet's decent.
If you tell us that's a hotel, we'll believe you. We're not sure it is, but we'll believe you.
Well, I could have done normal, where it's like pointed at the breakfast nook or something, but I thought, a simple wall would be nice.
Yeah.
But I just want to say real quick, I don't know if anybody stayed at a hotel or anything, but where I'm at, just to fill some people in, even in Wisconsin, masks are required in the common area. Once you get to your room, they have a sticker that seals the door.
Oh, wow.
In this place, we're lucky enough to have a kitchen. So all the dishware is located in the dishwasher with a sticker sealing it. And then the pots and pans are underneath, all that stuff are underneath. They deep clean the room. They leave a very detailed list of what they've done. And that's sealed off, too. So I think they're taking a lot of extra precautions. So I don't think maybe a quick getaway could be the worst thing in the world here. I know some people are getting sick of four walls, and if they can go out for a little bit, it might be a good idea if you're willing to. if people are nervous about it, I still understand that too.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because, I haven't really thought about travel. I haven't been in a hotel, and I'm sure a lot of the procedures have changed in those places. So hearing that is really good news. I'm sure they're taking it very seriously because the travel industry has been so affected. But, as we get back to hockey, guys are going to be on the road. They're going to be in hotels. This is good news to know and things to look for if you are staying somewhere. So, and it's great that they've got enough internet connection to make you look like you are still in witness protection program. So, with that being said,
turn the lights off.
Yeah, get even worse. We'll backlight you, okay? Yeah, it'll be perfect.
Got to get one of those voice changers too.
Yeah,
so disguise what you're saying.
We can do that. So for those of you who are just joining us again, welcome to the show. We do this every Wednesday at noon. I'd like to ask everyone to please hit the subscribe button on YouTube. We've added the Twitch channel this week, which is twitch.tv/refroom, so you can watch us on Twitch as well. But we need that subscription on YouTube more than anything. Matt says, I'm surprised they do all that at a by-the-hour motel. All right. Well, this is a referee show, so you are going to get the comments. And, we welcome comments. And, thanks for that, Matt. I'm sure Brad really appreciates it. Yeah, he's all good. His wife's there, so it's all good. But anyway, one of the other things I wanted to ask you about, Jameson, some of the officials, we've got different age groups. And typically in the ADP for many years, you had a lot of young guys in the ADP program. High school players, maybe some early college or just finished college. And then you'd get somebody like me that's practically a senior citizen out there. For me, one of the biggest things is flexibility. And I'd wonder if you could talk a little bit about flexibility and, guys working on what's a good way to stay in shape flexibility wise. And, that, of course, that helps balance. I've been lucky. I haven't had a problem with balance all these years. But I know some people do struggle with that as they start to get a little bit older and, things get a little bit stiffer. I mean, it's hard for me to bend over and pick up the puck. I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say that. But it's just the fact of the matter. And I've got a fused neck, so it makes a difference. But, any suggestions you can give us, I'd definitely love to hear about that.
I think the most important thing to do is just stretch. If you're disciplined about your workout, you should be stretching twice. You should stretch after your warm-up, and you should be stretching when you're done with your workout. And if you put in any kind of a conscious effort, whether it's just flexibility in your hips or hamstrings, whether it's being able to bend over and pick up the puck, being able to reach and contract your spine the way that you do to be able to do that. Flexibility is key. And we talked earlier too about finding a way to make the workouts dynamic and mixing your core with your upper body and lower body so that they're all tied together. That's another one of the reasons why I love the beach body programs with so many of those, is they really emphasize stretching before the workout or after the warm up and after you're done with the workout. But it's also a lot of the movements have some level of flexibility built in. Especially the lower body ones. If you do a lower body, you do a leg workout where you're in a lunge a lot. If you want to challenge yourself, you're going to notice that your flexibility, your ability to get into a deep lunge or a deep stretch, whatever the posture is that you need to hold while you're doing the workout, you're going to notice that week after week it gets a little better. And flexibility is so important, and it's so neglected in so many other areas of just general training. I program that you like.
Well, that's great advice.
Yoga is something that I do from time to time, and yoga is so good for flexibility and balance.
Well, one of the things I try to do before every game is I actually go over by the bench, the player's bench, and I put those legs up on the bench and I stretch out. Mm-hmm. And if I don't do that, it makes a big difference for me. So it is part of my pregame routine. I don't care how high level a game it is. You're going to see me go over and grab that player's bench for a couple minutes before or after I talk to the coach, but I am going to stretch. And that's something that actually showed me, because I cramped up. So not cramped, but I had I don't know if it was a cramp, but my back was so tight I could not even finish one of the ADP skates one day. And that was something that I started working on, and it's made a difference for me. So if you guys are having any issues with that sort of thing, I highly recommend it. Jameson is the expert on this stuff. Jameson, by the way, you have...
Expert's a strong word.
Well, You have your clinic that you teach. So for the guys that are out there, if you want to go learn to skate properly and you want to learn some of this conditioning, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing, your program, where it takes place, and how guys can get in touch with you in order to be a part of it.
Sure. I'll put the email address, the contact, into the chat here in a little bit. 2 years ago or so, I formally founded a business called Next Level Power Skating, and I've been running with it ever since and putting a lot of time and effort into just researching new ways to put some of the things that I want to teach into a good practice format. It's been really cool. Last year, I think I taught somewhere in the ballpark of 15 clinics, I think. And this year, I just booked my 49th ice slot. So it's been cool to see the way that this has grown over just the last year and a half, 2 years. I wanted to change a bit the way that we train on the ice. The foundational philosophy behind it is something that was drilled into me as a player growing up, and that's you're going to play the way that you practice. So you got to bring that same intensity level and focus and energy and excitement and enthusiasm that you would bring to a standard hockey game to every time you step on the ice. And I wanted to teach power skating in a non-traditional way. I wanted to move away a little bit from kind of the one-size-fits-all mentality that we see in so many other areas. I wanted to try to teach a program or create a program where, ice is expensive. You don't want to waste ice time out there. So if you've got 25, 30 people on the ice, what good does it do to have 20 of them standing in line waiting for their turn? If I wanted to find a way to maximize the ice. And so what I've been doing now for the last 2 years as part of this program is these skates are in an interval training style format, and you are moving nonstop from the moment you step on the ice to the moment we're done. If you're not moving, you're resting and recovering, and you're preparing for the next session here. And it's intense. It's hard. And what I've done is taken a lot of drills that I've just been keeping in my playbook over the years, drills that I've taken from a whole bunch of other people, and some of that I've come up with on my own, and put them into a format that mirrors a high-intensity interval training session. And it's power skating. Honestly, it's a bag skate, but it's a bag skate with the purpose of making you a better skater. And so it's been really cool to see how this has worked. It's been cool to see just the intensity level that a lot of the athletes I've been working with this year have brought. I've got 12-year-olds who are leaving the ice just dead, barely able to breathe or walk out, and asking me afterwards, can I come do this again? And so it's been really, really cool just seeing the way that people have responded to an idea that I didn't know, honestly, if it was going to work.
All right. We got a question coming in from Shane, and he says, I think a lot of hockey players, referees sort of overlook the importance of mobility work. Would you want to elaborate a bit more on the type of training, and it cuts off after a second here, the type of training and its benefits for hockey skating, Jameson?
So one of the things that I've incorporated into the program that I haven't really done in the past in most of the other sessions and clinics that I've taught, there's a lot of lateral movement that we work on. And I think that's what Shane is talking about, is mobility. It's not just skating up and down the ice. It's not just the north-south work that you need to do. It's the east-west, because the east-west is a big part of what helps you stay out of the way out there, especially as a referee. And so one of the foundational philosophies of all of those lateral mobility drills that I've done is that after a few repetitions, you got to find a way to reset. And I've got a drill that we've done for a number of weeks that I really like. It's become one of my favorite drills the entire summer. Imagine standing on the blue line, just standing on the blue line next to the boards. You're going to do 3 crossovers towards the middle of the ice. After that third crossover, you got to take 1 hop back to the middle, or back to the direction that you came. And then that hop, that little jump, is going to force you to reset your feet. And the goal is to get you to reset your posture. The goal is to get you to reset your upper body so that you can use your legs in a way that is going to be efficient. Because after 3 or 4 crossovers, just going straight side to side, some part of your body is going to get out of sync. The best skaters in the world have trouble with that, where the upper body just gets moving faster than the lower body, or vice versa, and you start leaning one way or the other. The crossovers get smaller and smaller and smaller. The ground that you cover gets smaller and smaller. So finding a way to work on any kind of lateral mobility while also resetting so that you can work on it again from a good starting point has been key in a lot of what I've been teaching this year too. Yeah, lateral mobility, there's a lot of turns and transitions that go into that as well. Every turn, every transition's got to take you side to side at least a little bit. So it's just a question of how tight do you need the turn to be and how powerful can you make that push when you come out of it. The disciplines I try to teach in a lot of these are you get one crossover. Limit yourself to one crossover. If you're coming out of a transition, you get one crossover, you get to push out, you get to push under, and then you got to reset your posture right into your stride. And so if you're noticing during your game that it's taking you several crossovers to complete a turn or several crossovers to complete a transition, find a way to discipline that up, focus more on the edge work, dig a little harder to the ice, and twist your body more into it. And the more you twist, the fewer crossovers you're going to have to do, because the whole point of a turn and a transition is to keep your momentum going. It's not just a straight start and stop. It's to keep as much energy, it's to conserve as much energy going with you as you can.
Now, I know
it all comes from your edge control.
You have been grading the level 4 skating tests for a number of years. Am I correct?
I did it a few times. I don't think I did any last year, but yes.
Okay. Brad, have you graded the level 4 skating test?
Yeah, last year was my first year.
Okay. So give us a couple tips for the guys that want to take the level 4 test. What do they need to look for in their practice in order to be successful in taking that test? Maybe you give us a couple tips. Each one of you. I'm going to start with Brad. Give us a tip that you've seen or you want to talk about. Maybe it's a bugaboo for you when you watch somebody doing the level 4 test. There's something you go, you did that, you're not going to be a level 4. Or maybe, wow, that was impressive. You are definitely a level 4. Give us a little guidance here for what to look for.
Well, the level 4 test, yes, you're supposed to be in control the entire time. You are being graded, but you can't dog it. You can't be skating a peewee game during it. There's only one time portion, which is amazing because we'll see people going up and down the ice, and then they get to the time portion and they're like the fastest person out there. Now, mind you, there's no technique in the time portion. It's get to the one spot, get to the other, and get back. So. That's just to see your agility and your conditioning at that point.
All right, but, so I got to jump right in here because having taken the level 4 test a number of times, I have heard so many guys that are on the ice, no, slow down, you don't need to do this at a faster speed. There is no place in the instructions for USA Hockey that it has to be done at a fast pace. It's more about doing the exercise the way you're instructed to do it and to complete it. There's the time portion of the test, but this is what I've heard from so many referees when they're out there on the ice. They're like, oh, no, you don't have to go fast. Just go slow. So I think a lot of guys get to the point where they understand it's not a timed portion when you're doing the drills other than the time portion of the skate. And I think I've gotten myself in trouble for that because I just did it slow because I was told, go slow. But then I've heard Mike Barrett come on and go, oh, no, I want to see you guys do it at full pace. And the guys are like, no, that's not what the book says. You don't have to do it at full pace. But there is a mixed signal being sent there because a lot of the guys on the ice are under the impression that it is not timed, that they don't have to do it. It's more about the form and just doing it correctly, and they can go at a slow pace because it's easier probably for them to do that. And there's been some confusion there, so that's why I bring this up.
So I can clear that up real quick if that's cool, Jameson.
I think you and I are
the one thing
the
is
same thing, so yeah.
More than likely. The thing is why we say we want you to do it at more of a game speed is number one, when you do slow down and you try to more focus on your form and all that, now you're more in a practice state, okay? That's not what you're going to do on the ice during an actual game. If you're at more of a game pace, your muscle memory from your practice skates that you've already tried working on will kick in, and you'll be able to do these drills at full speed. If you can't do them at 3/4 or full speed, should you really be a level 4 at that point? Because if you have to skate half speed in order to get up and down the ice to make a controlled turn, I wish you a lot of luck catching U16 AAA players because you're not going to do it. Jameson, you feel any different on that?
No, not at all. And
okay.
I think part of it is, too, in Illinois, our level 4 standards are higher than what I've heard in other locations. That they hold them more accountable to their skating ability than they do at other locations. So take that for what it is. But I've just heard compared to other states where they go through the same tests we do, we expect more of our level fours.
We have a question or a comment here coming in from Mr. Zednick himself, and he has actually graded level 4 tests. I know that for a fact. What's up, Dave? Do you think that transitions and edge work are the most important part? It kicks off there automatically. Sorry, most important part of the level 4 test. Jameson?
I don't know that there is a most important part. I mean, the timed portion can certainly make or break you. If you fail the timed portion, it doesn't matter how good the rest of your skating is. But just if you isolate the time portion, you take that part out. I don't know that there is a most important part. You get, assuming you pass the time portion with flying colors, you get all 3 points of those. It really doesn't matter if you fail, if you don't pass the transition, or if you don't pass the cross under, or if you don't pass the control turn. It all pieces together. It's a total package test. It tests so many different aspects of your skating ability. So I can't really say that turns and transitions are the most important part, because if your turns and transitions are great, but your forward stride is out of control and undisciplined, you take a point off one way or the other, it's still a point off. I would say grading it for a number of years, the number one thing that people did fail on, though, was the control turns and I think it was control turns and transitions that had where people lost the most points. And so if that was what Dave was asking, then yeah.
It's great to know. So as we have Dave on the chat here right now, and if you're there, Dave, I'm going to ask you a question, because we were talking about this before the show, the three of us. We had a question that was posted in the ref room. So if you guys want to, if you're watching on Facebook in the ref room, I'll just read the question to it. But it was a comment. And so Dave is the rules expert. And if you don't know Zednick, everybody, he does an article in the newsletter that comes out. He's the rules expert. So there's a rule on the open book test this year. And he says, USA Hockey strikes again for my level 3 open book exam. True or false, a major penalty for spearing is to be assessed when any player attempts to spear an opponent but does not make contact. At first glance, I'm inclined to answer true, because I'm thinking the point that they're trying to drive home with this question is that that contact does not need to be made in order to assess the penalty. And yes, a major penalty would be assessed. However, a game misconduct would also be assessed. So now I'm thinking maybe they're simply looking for the exact penalty assessment, in which case this would be false, since the exact assessment is major plus game. He says these are ridiculous. I know we get some questions that are sometimes a little bit confusing, and I happen to know another referee that did very well on his test, and it wasn't me, but he missed this question as well. So this was one of the more confusing questions, I think, on the level 3 open book test. Dave, if you're on, would you like to comment on that? You can post your comment, and I will put it up for everybody. Again, it goes back to the spearing penalty. If you want to look at your level 3 test or whatever the case may be, I'm sure he has it standing right by there. If not, he probably knows the answer anyway. Do you guys want to comment on that? Have you seen that question on? Well, you don't take the level 3. You guys are taking the level 4. But
it is kind of a weird question, and I have always say the key to passing any rule book test is you got to ask yourself, what is the goal of the question? What is the purpose of the question? But you also can't read too deep into it. And so, I mean, if the point of the question is the word that stood out for me when you read that is the attempt. And so for me, the purpose of the question is to separate your knowledge. Is a major in a game for spearing an option for an attempted spear versus, actually making contact? And so it's knowledge of the rule from that aspect. But he brings up a good point, too, where I haven't seen it, but if the option is just a major and they're not including the major in a game, I'm 99.9% sure you can't assess a standalone major for spearing. A game misconduct always comes with it. So
it's 5
that could be an oversight in the rule. And
Mr. Gaffney has been kind enough to give us in the comments that answer. He says 100% 5 and a Geno. Okay. I don't know which Geno he's referring to, but it's definitely
Typo,
5 in a
guessing
game.
that's
Yeah.
I think that's a typo.
5 and a Geno. Yeah.
5 and a
Auto
Geno.
spell. There you go. We love auto
Some
spell.
more Cavallini's ears are burning.
Exactly. But anyway, okay. I don't know if Zednik caught that, Mr. Dave, but, thanks for watching the show. We appreciate it. And Dave has been a guest on the show, and I'm sure he's going to be coming back here, I hope, soon, because he's very knowledgeable on the rules, and he's one of the good guys. So thanks for watching.
I think to answer that indirectly, Scott, with questions on rules tests, like Jameson did say, first find the point of the question, which was that attempted, but try not to think so hard about the answer. I know that sounds difficult.
Yeah. I think we all overthink the questions.
I think sometimes when when I take my test, closed, open, whatever, I run through it real quick without my rule book, okay? And if my closed, you don't have that option. But I run through it real quick, and I answer the first thing that comes to my head. And I write it in the booklet, and then I go back through it and retake it again as I fill out the bubbles. Because sometimes when you read it, and then you read something further down, that question might be asked a different way later in the test, and you can actually go back and go, wait a minute, I kind of think I know what they were looking for in this one, and it helps you sort through. That's just a little tip, but,
hey,
it's all.
We'll take them all. We got the tests coming. For those of you that haven't taken your tests yet, the modules, I know I've taken my open book test. I've registered. Don't forget, as soon as we are able to go back to hockey, we have some things that we have to have done before our end of November credentials expire. So if you have not registered for USA Hockey yet, you need to do so because you have to get a new screening. So we have a new screening process this year. So if you are a new official or a returning official and you think, well, I've got time, I'm good till the end of November, the answer to that is not, because it's September 1st we have to have the screening done by, and it will take a week. So really, you're down to kind of the deadline, guys. You need to get registered if you want to be involved this year because you got to get that screening done. Now, if you don't and you're saying, well, I'm good till November, yes, that's true, and when hockey returns, it just may mean you have to wait a week or two for them to get your screening done before you will be eligible to work, even though your credentials are still good till the end of November. I guess that's the best way to put it. So, Brad, do you want to run down the order of everything that has to be done and what we've got? I know we've got seminars going on now. Have you been a part of one of the seminars yet, by the way, here in Illinois?
No, I just helped get them together. Craig Welker and Eric Housel and Dave Zednik and a couple other people have really done quite a bit of that this year. And I know the guys that have taught already were people that are very familiar with seminars. And from what I heard, it went well. And quite a few people have already said that it went well. But so USA Hockey this year, you have to register with USA Hockey like you normally would, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Then you have to go back onto the USA site and register for your seminar, which is virtual now. USA Hockey has had that set up this season in order to register through that. And then on top of that, you have to do your screening if you haven't done it last season. If you hadn't done it last season, it's no good this year. So good luck. You got to do it. When you do it, have a photocopy of your state ID. When you go on there, because that is a requirement of the screening. Some people don't realize that. You don't have to take a photocopy with the modern technology. Just take a picture with your phone, email it to yourself, upload it, and you're done, and then delete it afterwards so nobody can get that. Right. And then Illinois, we have an extra step where you have to go file for our memberships dues, and that's in order to start skating games in Illinois. And I do believe some other states are doing that as well. So, but that's about it right now. One thing I'd like to say is USA Hockey's busy at this time, too, because a lot of people are starting to get registered and coaches are doing stuff. And there's a lot of data running through there. So every once in a while when people are going to take their online tests, they're closed, they're open, they're modules, you might get an error. And just wait a minute. Couple minutes, try it again. It should work. Don't try not to get frustrated with it. Just remember the referee side, what USA Hockey is a very tiny side compared to the rest of the hockey community. So it might be frustrating, but just bear with it and keep trying.
All right, we have a couple things coming in. We have our president, Steve Rickard, that has chimed in here, and he says seminars are going well. We need more level 1 officials to sign up. So if you guys have some friends that want to start, that worked in men or play in men's league, that want to start reffing, or some young high school age guys, I think you have to be 14 to do it officially. They're looking for a really nice part-time job. Hockey will return, and we are going to need people. Mr. Zednik himself has chimed in with regard to that rule that we put up, so I'm going to post this. I don't know if you'll be able to see it clearly, to be honest with you, because it just not really going to show up well. So I'm going to just read it to you. I got to scoot over so I can see it. Rule 635, spearing. Note, spearing is the act of poking, stabbing, or attempting to poke or stab an opponent with the tip of the blade. Hang on, this is... with the tip of the blade of the stick while holding the stick with one or both hands. A major plus a game misconduct penalty shall be assessed for spearing an opponent. B, a match penalty for an attempt to injure or deliberate injury to an opponent may also be assessed for spearing. Now, if you want to see these, he's got the comments, so you guys can look down in the comments. He also said it's a major in a game whether you make contact or not. That's a very important point that you guys need to know. Even if it's attempted, it's still a major in a game. And he says a major penalty for spearing is to be assessed when any player attempts to spear an opponent but does not make contact. So it is false. So there's the answer to the question, guys, from the rules expert himself. And thanks for checking us out here. All right, Jameson, we are going to start to wind things down here a little bit. Next week on the show, we have Russ Nemenko joining us. For those of you that don't know Russ is a Tier 1 coach, I believe, with TI. I believe he's the hockey director of the Bulldogs that play out of Heartland, the Central States team. I think he coaches the Bantams, at least he has in the past. He's a great guy. He's run Heartland Rink. He runs the men's league for that large company that owns a bunch of these rinks. So he's got some different insight that he's going to let us in on next week, and we're going to talk about where they're going from here and what things look like for the Tier 1 teams, for the coaches, for the hockey organization. So we're going to get a little different perspective next week versus just a referee's point of view here. Jameson, before we go, please tell us how guys can get in touch with you if they want to work on their skating. You do have ice time, so fill us in on the details so you guys can be a part of this if you're interested.
I'll throw it in the chat right here. So here's my website. I'm not a web designer. I had to build this myself from the ground up here. So it's not as fluid as I would like it to be. It's something on the to-do list for the training off season here once we get into the regular hockey season. Or if you're just looking for more details, you can just go to my email me, nextlevelpowerskating@gmail.com. I'll put that in the chat here as well. Right now, I'm hoping to start getting a few more clinics spread around the Chicagoland area. Right now for September, I've got every single Wednesday out at Willowbrook Ice Arena, 7:10 to 8:10 p.m. And for those of you, I see a good number of my students, not my students, the athletes who have been coming out to these clinics are on the chat. So I talked to some of them. They can tell you a bit about what you're in for. Just the only heads up I can give you is, come prepared to work. I had a high school player tell me with a huge smile on his face a few weeks ago that it was the hardest practice he's ever skated in his life, and he couldn't wait to do it again. So they're intense. They're far from easy, but they're doing good.
You've got an endorsement here right now from Kevin Haller, so thank you for that, Kevin. All right, guys. First of all, Jameson, thank you for taking time out of your busy day. I know you're busy at work for coming on and doing this with us. I certainly appreciate it, as does Brad. Brad, you stay safe. Thanks, up in Wisconsin.
Well, thank you, guys.
So, guys, when we return next week at noon, we will have Russ Nemenko here. His brother played in the NHL as a goaltender. He's a great guy. He's very knowledgeable, and he's going to be able to give us a lot more insight than what we've seen just from referees. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Everybody, thank you for joining us. The replays will be up on YouTube. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please do so. All right. that's going to do it. Any last minute comments? Next week, we're going to start your feature, Brad. We have Brad's Breakaway.
Yeah.
We've talked about it for 2 weeks. We still haven't had a chance to do it.
Through the show without bringing it up.
Right. All right. Any last comments, Brad?
Yeah. No. Thanks, JMO.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys for the opportunity.
Jameson, thanks so much. We really appreciate all you do and that all you've done for us over the years in power skating and being a part of IHOA. So thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. You've made a big difference in my hockey career, and I wanted to thank you for that. So, guys, you have a great week.
It's been an honor and a pleasure.
All right, guys. On behalf of all of us here at the Ref Room, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great week. Stay safe. Let's get back to hockey soon, boys. Ready to go. All right.